notability. So if somebody is notable, you would just say what makes them notable in the first few paragraphs. You're not going to put every detail about their life here, but you will make the case for notability. Why are they notable? What have they done in society to make them notable enough to have a Wikipedia article? That would go in the first lead paragraphs. On the top of a lot of Wikipedia articles, many times you'll also see a photo or an info box. Of course, an info box is usually a place just to include some biographical information about somebody. And it involves a bit of formatting, which I can show you later. But typically at the top of every Wikipedia article, we have our lead paragraphs and our info boxes or photos. Sometimes you'll see within a Wikipedia article in the lead paragraphs that there are no citations supporting the information in the first few paragraphs of an article. That is okay. It's really a style preference. So for whoever who created the article in the first place, it is okay to not have citations in the first lead paragraphs, because all of these things that are stated here will be restated in the actual content below, and the things would be cited there. So you'll see both. Sometimes you'll see citations in the beginning and sometimes you won't. Both are okay. Speaking of citations or references, Wikipedia uses what's called basic inline citations. So anytime, and I will show you how to do all of these things, anytime you add a citation in Wikipedia, it automatically, the corresponding citation does get added to the bottom of the page automatically. There are additional sections under the typical content of a Wikipedia article. So sometimes you'll see sections called further reading or external links. In further reading, sometimes if you just have any information about materials written about an individual, for example, you will put it there. External links is actually interesting. So for example, if somebody has, you're writing an article about someone, for example, and they have their own website. Now, we would discourage you from citing that person's website within the general content of an article because it would technically be considered not a neutral source. That said, it is okay to share that link within the external link section of a Wikipedia article, because really you're just sharing more information about that person. You're not citing the source, you're just giving people more a place where they can find more information about that person. So if you have anything like that, or you're creating an article about someone who has a website, it's a great addition to put a link to their website within external links. The other thing that you'll see at the bottom of many articles are categories. I like to call them, they're almost like social media tags. You can, if you want to add somebody's article to a category, you would just need to go to the bottom, select the plus sign on the right side, and just type the name of the category. And once you've tagged the article as being in that category, it will be listed with similar articles. So now we're actually going to get into how to edit. As I mentioned before, we are using what's called Visual Editor, our typical easy to use editing system. It wasn't always an option. I'm not exactly sure the year where it was launched, when it was launched, but it's what we use to train new editors. But again, I do know that many of you are coders and you are more than welcome to edit using the other editing system. But for the purpose of training, we will be using Visual Editor. Now, before we go any further, if you want to follow along by actually opening an existing Wikipedia article, you are more than welcome to do so. You are also more than welcome to just watch my slides as I show you how to do it, and then go back at a later time and try this, whatever works best for you. But I do want to show you, for those of you, this section is for those of you who could not activate Visual Editor when we did our preferences. If you are ever in a Wikipedia article and you don't see the edit option, you only see edit source, and you want to use Visual Editor instead of coding, I'll show you how to actually, the other way, the workaround to access that. So what you would need to do if you're only seeing edit source in the article that you want to edit, but you don't want to code, you would still click on edit source. Now, if you look on the far right of my screen, you'll see a pencil icon. I'm going to click on that. And you can actually toggle back and forth between the different editors there. So I select Visual Editor and it just reloads the page in Visual Editor. So that's the easiest workaround for that. Again, I'll show you, if you were not able to see an edit button on an article, only an edit source button, if you click on edit source, Go over to the right side of the page, select the pencil icon and select visual editing there. You're able to get it that way. Again, that is a workaround for people that were unable to set the visual editor preference when we did it in the beginning of the presentation. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is actually demo how to edit the content of an article. Sorry, I'm just looking in the chat. Okay, so some of these questions that are coming up in visual mode, how do I insert hyperlink text? These are all things that are going to be in the next few slides as far as the demo. I'm going to show you how to do everything that you need to do to edit a basic article, including adding hyperlinks, adding citations, adding content, adding sections, and so forth. And there is one more question here. It says, I only see view source. Are you on an article? You see view source and not edit source? Okay, I'll come back to that in a moment. So right now I will show you. Okay, that's interesting. That's something I may have to troubleshoot later because I'm not exactly sure what that means, or what that implies within Wikipedia. So real quick, before we take any more questions, I will show you how to actually edit the article now. So if I have an article that I'm going to edit, I'm going to start from the reading mode. So let's say I find an article that I want to edit. Of course, this applies to existing articles. And I want to edit in visual mode. Again, I'll click on edit at the top. And like I said before, if you don't see edit, click on edit source, go to the pencil and change your mode to visual editor. Now, as soon as I select edit, I can just click right into the article and just start typing right away. I can add things, I can delete things, I can fix typos, I can add sections, all of those sorts of things. So that's how you would do that. Most importantly for Wikipedia is citing your sources. Many other editors or experienced editors will flag you if you are adding content and not citing your sources. So it is crucial. So let's say I've added some content and I'm ready. I have a source that I'm going to cite that is a verifiable high quality source, and I'm going to add it and cite what I've just added, the content. So I would go here to my cite button. If you look at the top of the page, you'll see a formatting bar that we actually didn't have before. Once you click edit, it will open a formatting bar, which includes a number of useful options. So let's say I've added content and I want to cite my source. I would just click cite, and up comes our pop-up menu. This is a great resource, and I'll show you why. So let's say you're citing a website and you have the URL. All you would need to do is paste the URL into this field, click generate, and the citation will generate. If you're citing a website and you want to add a little more detail, then automatic allows. If you're citing a book, if you're citing a journal, if you're citing a news source, or if you have a source that's not included on this list, you would click basic form. But let's say you wanted to cite a book, all you would need to do is click on book and fill out the form. Now, if there's an asterisk, of course it's required. Everything else here isn't required, though we would encourage you to use it. I'm just going to do a test here. So let's say you want to insert, you're done filling in these fields and you want to insert your citation. All I would need to do is click insert, and your citation is automatically generated. It's also included at the bottom of the article now in the references section, automatically in order. You don't have to worry about changing the order of the citations. It will do that for you. It'll bump everything down by one. The last feature of the citation button I want to show you is when you click on it, let's say you've cited something a few times and you don't want to enter it into the fields anymore because you've done it 5 times and you're tired of it. All you would need to do is click reuse. It will show you all of the citations that were already used within that article. You can find the one that you want to cite again, click on it again, and it will insert the citation again. So that's how you, a basic way of citing your sources within Wikipedia. I'm gonna discard my edits briefly just so I can look at the chat. Okay. So there are a couple questions here that I will address briefly. I know that we were going to take a general Q&A, but they are good questions, and I can answer them while I am editing them. So yes, any article, and I know there is the use of this terminology profile within Wikipedia. You'll typically see them called articles. So any articles about an individual, anybody can edit it, and when you change other people's edits, you are overriding what they've done. But anybody can go in. That's the great thing about Wikipedia. It is entirely crowdsourced. So anybody can go into any article and change it and improve it. And sometimes improvements mean removing things that other people have added. I believe the other question was about the moderation of content. Okay, what if editing any posted content offends someone? So there is a way to flag content as offensive. There are bots, I should say, that go through and actually look for offensive language or things that have been added as vandalism. We have that here in the States with politicians. That's often flagged if people go in and add things. Hold on, I'm just going to go ahead and mute. It sounds like we have some folks who are muted, so I want to. Okay, that should help. So okay, so if it's something that offends somebody, if it is true and cited and it is the truth and you can prove it with citations, it won't necessarily come down. But if it is something like vandalism, it's more likely to come down. Now, one of the ways that we deal with it when somebody challenges something on a Wikipedia article is there are Wikimedians, if it gets flagged for deletion, for example, and there is a way to do that, it will go to consensus and then people can have a conversation. Other Wikimedia editors can have conversations about whether it should stay or not. But if someone is blatant, if it's blatant vandalism or something like that, a bot will usually, a bot or an active editor will flag it. It does surprisingly happen quite quickly. You would be surprised. As far as the content being moderated, it is totally community policed. So that's the great thing again about Wikipedia, and it's one of the things that's been praised about Wikipedia within other internet communities, is that the community policing is, believe it or not, pretty efficient, considering how many people are editing Wikipedia. There are about what we consider 11,000 very active users out of all the hundreds of thousands, I'm not sure the exact number, editors that are out there. About 11,000 are very active, and they do, a lot of them are admins, and they work together to make sure that they are policing the content, though we do want to make sure that we can still work together, even if it's something that someone doesn't agree with, as if it's true and it's cited and you know, you can prove that it is something that happened, you know, it is important to add that to the article, even though it may be offensive, as long as it's true and cited correctly. So yes, you can delete a citation if it's done by mistake. All you need to do is place your cursor next to the citation. Of course, you need to be in editing mode, and all you need to do is just backspace or delete, and your citation will disappear, and that's all you need to do. The last question I'll take before moving on, how to actually add a hyperlink. When publishing a Wikipedia article, I'm not sure how it is in other languages, but within Wikipedia, it does change for each language. But in English Wikipedia, if you want to publish your changes that you've made, it happens immediately. So you need to click the blue publish changes button on the top right, and your changes will be published right away. They do not go to a higher authority now. So the recording, there's a question about the recording. Will it be available? Yes, I believe it will be, and I guess Mawish can address that at a later time. Now, again, these slides will be on the event page, so you're always welcome to come back. A lot of these questions that are coming up were, as far as notability, I believe were addressed in the first few slides, so you'll be able to go back and look at them there. Okay, so we did review how to add a citation. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to do a hyperlink within an article. It's the same way you would do a hyperlink in any other platform. So let's say I have the word Washington, DC. I'm just going to delete this hyperlink so I can show you in real time. So of course, one of the characteristics of a wiki is that we want hyperlinks within the article. So in the main section of an article, you are hyperlinking not to external sources, but you are hyperlinking to other Wikipedia articles. So let's say you see somebody's birthplace, or where they lived, or the university where they're working, or the organization where they work mentioned in a Wikipedia article, and you know that that Wikipedia article exists, or you are pretty sure, you would just highlight the text. I will go up here to the link icon in the formatting bar, click it, and a list of articles of that same name will come up. All you need to do is click the option you want, and your hyperlink is created. It's as simple as that. So a good rule of thumb is you only need to hyperlink to something once. If it is, if the hyperlink or the name appears, or the subject appears 10 times, mentioned 10 times within an article, you don't have to hyperlink to it every time. You only have to do it the first time. So again, to hyperlink in anything, you would just highlight it just like you would hyperlink anything in an email. You would select the link icon, find what you're looking for in the list of articles, click it, and click done, and the hyperlink is generated. Now, the next thing we're going to review is how to include a section. So whether you're building an article